Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining on time. My name is Rohit. These are the 11th and 12th sessions out of at least 16 complimentary sessions for German A1 level. What you are looking at right now is the agenda for today's two sessions. First topic is that you will learn about trennbare Verben. Trennbar literally means separable. So because German is German. So there is normally when you have verbs, I mean, if you only know English, then you know that when you have a verb, you just have a verb. It cannot be broken down. You can just change the spelling depending on the subject and the tense. But in German, you have verbs which can be broken down. So some verbs in German, they have a prefix, and so that separated in certain sentence structures. So you will learn about that. Uh, then you will learn, I mean, many of you already know this maybe from Duolingo if you're using it, but if you're not, you will learn the preposition few. It actually means for, and you will learn to use it. It's not that difficult. Then we will, I mean, I say it sounds like very difficult that begin to write complex sentences by using adverbs such as dan and danak. It's not that difficult. Like there are these adverbs, so you can use them to write complex. Complex meaning that so far you have only learned how to write, one sentence, subject, verb, object, and you put full stop and then you can write one more sentence. So you can just say, for example, I read, I talk, I read the contract, I talk in German, right? But what if you want to say sentence like, blah 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 blah, then blah 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 blah. So you want to say like, I am in Germany. So I wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning, then I take a bath. If you want to say like then, to make complex sentences. This is what I mean by complex sentences. Then I will show you some sentences that may or may not describe my daily life, but I'll show you sentences that are, so there in those sentences I will use Modalverben, all the six, and I will also use trennbare Verben or just normal Verben, and I'll show you how you can learn German at a I mean, you can learn German at whichever speed you want, but you can also learn at a faster speed, and I'll show you how you can do that with the help of these examples. Then of course you'll learn some vocabulary, and I may also learn some if I have forgotten any vocabulary. If you have any questions, please unmute and ask. It'll be nice if you raise your hand before that, but you don't have to. Disclaimer: those who are joining for the first time, please understand, if anybody has to teach you German and that person has to sleep properly at night, after teaching you German, that, I mean, if I have to do it, I need to spend at least 100 to 120 hours with you, and then only then I can say I have done my job. Then I can say I taught you whatever I wanted to teach you when it comes to A1 level. Not just teaching, like making you do homework, making sure that you are on the right track, pushing you, and that will take around 100 to 120 hours. But I'm spending only 16 to 20 hours with you. That's why there is a lot of things which are mostly the practice part is missing, which you have to do on your own. Yeah, Ravish, please ask.
Yeah, finally I can speak. Yeah, I'm in the public transport, but yeah. My quick question is, Rohit, when you said we have this, prefixes for this trennbare verb, do we have anything called suffix for a trennbare verb, like
Nah,
it in the end?
no, there is nothing like that. I mean, from what I
Oh,
know,
okay,
I don't think there is anything like that. No.
okay, okay. It's
Yeah,
always in the big.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
okay,
which is a
thank you.
good news.
Yeah, I was wondering, do we have, and then we have to
Yeah,
separate it in
yeah.
the back
Maybe
of.
there is something, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
If
thank
that
you.
was, yeah. Yeah, Ankit, please ask.
I just joined 2 minutes late. I don't know if you have already covered this one part.
No, no, no.
Uh,
I would just give you
last
the agenda. That's it.
last session. I remember we missed out on email
Ah, okay.
thing.
Yeah, we'll do it today. I did not cover it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
because
not
that
part of
is
the agenda, but I'll cover it. I'll see if I can do it today. Yeah.
okay. That was a part of previous agenda. We were not able to finish that.
Okay. Thanks for reminding. Yeah, I think I forgot about it, or I chose to ignore it, but we'll cover it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So before we, start talking about trennbare Verben and how to make sentences using trennbare Verben, let's do a very quick revision. So so when German language is, like for example, most of you are learning German so that you can speak and understand. That means you want to have a conversation. Of course, you want to write emails and all, like, but actually, what you want is that you are able to talk to someone. That means you are able to have a conversation. A conversation is nothing but, so there are three parts to a conversation. You see the person, you make eye contact, or let's say, and you greet them. So there are greetings, and then you say blah 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 blah, and at the end you take leave from them. So greetings and taking leave from them. That's what you learned in the first session. Then in between greetings and taking leave, you have a lot of sentences, you know so you will be saying a lot of sentences, the other person will say a lot of sentences. I actually, when I analyze whatever I say and whatever the other person says, normally I say only three kinds of sentences. The sentence can be a statement, like a statement, like it can be a question. If it is a question, it can be a yes or no kind of question, or it can be a w kind of question. Again, this is a revision. So statement is, if you want to, yeah, question. Somebody has unmuted, Ravish. Okay, I'll have to.
Oh, sorry, Rohit.
Yeah. So statement, you have subject, you have verb, you have object. Of course, you have a full stop. The subject. So one example is Ich bekomme den Vertrag. I get the contract. Yes or no kind of question. So if you want to convert a statement into a yes or no kind of question, all you have to do is interchange the positions of the subject and the verb. So instead of saying Ich bekomme den Vertrag, say bekomme ich den Vertrag. Of course, like it should sound like a question mark. It should sound like a question. Then if you want to convert a yes or no kind of question into a w kind of question, you just take the yes or no kind of question and place the w word before it. Wann bekomme ich den Vertrag? When do I get the contract, or when am I getting the contract? If you want to say how, you will have to say wie bekomme ich den Vertrag. So this is the normally, these are the three kinds of sentence structure that you need to know. Then just one quick revision. So the verb, so the spelling of the verb will change uh, depending on the subject of the sentence. Okay, we are only talking about present tense. So in present tense, even in past tense it's the same, but let's look at the present tense. So if instead of using ish, if I say do, do as the pronoun, that means I'm referring to some second person and just one person, and I'm being informal, I will say do. And if I say do, I cannot say bekomme, I will say do becomes. If I say he, I will have to say er. If I say er, I cannot say bekomme, I can also not say becomes, I will have to say bekommt. If I'm saying we, like via, so I will have to say become. This is called, what is called as conjugating a verb. The spelling of the verb changes, and because German is a phonetic language, if the spelling changes, the pronunciation also changes. Yeah. So that's what this verb has been conjugated for the given subject. Yeah. This is what you should know. That means every verb that you learn, you should learn the conjugation table. Now this may look like 6 different combinations, but if you look at it, for via and this zz, the verb is actually the same, bekommen. So for via and zz, you don't have to conjugate the verb. So you actually have to learn the conjugation for ish, do, rzz, and ia. And rzz, it's the same thing. And quite often, the conjugation for rzz will be the same as the conjugation for ia. So normally you only learn 3 different variations of the same verb. Any questions, please ask. Now let's, you also learned about Modalverben. So when you use a Modalverb, just for sake of, so in the last slide I called this as the verb. Now I will call it main verb. Okay, because when you use a Modalverb, the other verb becomes the main. It's not hard, I'm just calling it for the sake of understanding. I'll call it main verb. And when you use a Modalverb, so if I go back one slide, so here I gave you this, I told you, right? You have to conjugate the verb. When there is only one verb. Sorry, what happened? Someone said something. Okay, yeah. So, guys, if you have any questions, please write on me. I'm not able to look at the messages. So you are conjugating the verb, right? So you're conjugating the verb, which whatever is there, as long as you use only one verb in a sentence. Uh, the moment you use a modal verb, we did this in the last session. When you use a modal verb, so the other verb, it goes to the last position. So normally the verb was here, now it is at the last position. And I'm using a modal verb, and modal verb is now at the second position. And now you conjugate the modal verb, the other verb, I write enf or inf. This means infinitive form, or you write the verb as it is, you don't have to conjugate it. And that is, I mean, I don't know how you look at it. I mean, modal verb also say you much more things, right? So you can say you should, you can, you have to, and so on, right? But also when you use a modal verb, the good part is you don't have to use you will you don't have to think how to conjugate this verb, because you don't have to conjugate it. That is the good thing about modal verb. And when you use a modal verb, please understand the other verb will always be at the last position. Check haben, lesen, unterschreiben. It is at the last position. Yeah, remember this. And the modal verb, I mean, so uh, in a normal sentence, like when there was only one verb, you remember that in a statement the verb is at the second position. It's also at the second position in the W word kind of question, and it is at the first position in a yes or no kind of question. That means, and the same position will now be taken by the modal verb. So you check in a statement, the modal verb is the second position. It is also at the second position for W word kind of question, and for a yes or no kind of question, the modal verb is at the first position. So you whatever verb gets conjugated gets this position. Any questions so far? Okay. So these were some examples. We did this. So let us continue. Now you have to learn how to. Wait 1 second before I show you the examples. Let us talk something about what exactly are we talking about this trennbare verb. That was So I told you when you have a conversation with someone, like there is greetings and there is blah 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 blah, and then you take leave from them, and that blah 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 you will be just saying sentences and questions, statements and questions. And now the entire German language, what you'll do, you'll basically learn how to make complex and like different kinds of sentences. So this is what you do throughout the entire time, like from A1 to C1. If you ask me, of course you learn things here and there, but basically you are learning to frame sentences. That's why I did that revision part. Now you will learn how to use so I told you how you can use one verb. Now I showed you how you can use modal verb and the other verb. Now you will learn what happens if the other verb, if I go back here, so here you had verbs like haben, lesen, unterschreiben. These are just normal verbs, so they cannot be broken down. They don't have a prefix. Unterschreiben looks like it has a prefix unter, but it's not a separable prefix. Now we will learn what happens if the verb has a prefix and it is separable. How the sentence structure changes. Of course, there are a few more advantages of using trennbare Verben. So first of all, what are trennbare Verben? You will learn that. Why do you need to know them? Let's see if I can answer that question. Then how should you use them, like which syntax you should follow, how the sentence structure changes, where the verb is, where the subject, and so on. And how do you identify a trennbare verb when you hear it for the first time? Teachers really like to teach you this. I think it's utterly useless. I mean, it's not useless, but I'm saying you should not put so much energy on this thing. I mean, but the idea is that so when somebody is saying a sentence, how do you know whether that verb is separable or not? you know and that I'll tell you how you can identify that. Then also there are some verbs which look like trennbar, which look like separable. They can be broken down into two pieces, but they are not. So also how you can avoid making this mistake. Let's start with what are trennbare Verben. Basically, a verb, it will have a prefix, and that prefix is separable. So in certain sentence structure, that prefix will be somewhere else. It will not be with the verb, and that's what trennbare Verben means. Trennbare means separable, separable, and trennbare Verben means separable verbs, meaning verbs with prefix and the prefix is separable. Why do you need to know them? Honest answer, you have to. It's part of the German language and you have to learn them. But one answer that I can give you that will make you happy is that when you learn a verb, and you if you know that this verb can also be used with some other prefixes, and the meaning changes drastically. For example, I'll show you some examples. Let me why I'm talking in future tense, I'll show you them right away. I will also later share a LinkedIn post about, I mean, I had a written post, I'll show it to you, which tells you why trennbare Verben are useful. So you have the verb geben, right? So geben means to give. Then abgeben, so here I'm using the prefix ab. Abgeben does not mean to give. Abgeben means to submit, you know, like to submit the thesis when to submit something. Yeah. Then you have zugeben. Zugeben means to agree or to give in, something like that. Yeah. Angeben, so these are all, I'm just using prefixes. ab, I'm using ab, I'm using zu. Angeben means to show off, or it can mean to show off. It can also mean to, like, to specify something. So the meaning changes, and this is the beauty of using trennbare Verben, and therefore the German language, that you can learn one verb, and then you can learn to use some prefixes with it, and then so you learn one verb, but you actually learn to use you learn four different verbs, like many times, 7 to 8 different verbs. Verb remains the same. You can add a prefix and the meaning changes, so you can say 10 different things by learning just one verb. I hope that is a good news for you. Yeah, depending. So, so we answered both the questions. What are they? What they are, and why do you need to know them? How should you use them? So let's talk about a little bit more. I didn't know I had a slide about that. What are trennbare Verben? They are nothing but verbs with separable prefix. So there are verbs which do have a prefix, but the prefix is not separable. Only those verbs where the prefix is separable are called as trennbare Verben. I believe for many of you who have already done A1 or Duolingo, this is a repetition, but I have to do it. So prefix usually changes the meaning of the verb. As I said, the prefix will change the meaning of the verb. Let's look at this. So the verb, you all know the verb machen. Machen means to do. Yeah, machen means to do. But then there is something called as abmachen, aufmachen, zumachen. Anyone wants to, so I have examples for aufmachen and zumachen. We can go there. Anyone wants to read these four sentences and maybe help us with the meanings? So you have four sentences there on the slide. Anyone wants to read? Raise your hand, please. Okay, no one wants to read. So, ich mache die Tür auf. So here, if you notice, the auf is no more with the verb. The auf is no more. Auf is somewhere else. Same example over here. Similar example here. Ich mache die Tür zu. The verb is zumachen, but I don't keep zu with mache. Normally I should say ich zumache die Tür, but that's wrong. So you have to place the prefix somewhere else. Yeah. But notice, if I use a modal verb, können Sie die Tür, I don't, now the prefix is with the verb. Yeah. Again here as well. Können Sie die Tür zumachen? The zu is with the verb. Yeah. So the whether the prefix is with the verb or it is not with the verb, it depends whether you use a modal verb or not. Yeah, so that is one end. Now if you know what machen means to do, but here ich mache die Tür auf, if I only said ich mache die Tür, it means I make the door. I am someone who builds door, something like that. But if I say ich mache die Tür auf, it means to open the door. Like, can you please, like, I open the door. Ich mache die Tür zu means I close the door. The meaning changes completely, right? Here, können Sie die Tür aufmachen? This simply means you are saying, can you open the door? And here, können Sie die Tür zumachen? Can you close the door? Abmachen, I don't have an example, but abmachen literally means to undo something. I can give you an example. Let's say, if you buy a phone, normally the phone will have some sticker on the back side, and to remove that sticker, it's, you can say abmachen to remove it. Yeah, one example. You can use abmachen in a few different ways, but that's one example of abmachen, to remove the sticker from your phone. Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay. So uh, let's talk about the syntax. Yeah. I will show you the example using the so here. Uh, here. So we're talking about the syntax. So there is this verb weiterleiten. Anyone knows what weiterleiten means? Like weiterleiten. Anyone?
Forward.
Forward, right? To forward. Forward what? Like, where can you use it?
Email.
Email. Yeah, email. Like, whatever you get electronically, you can. So the verb is shape boy. Weiterleiten. Yeah. And I know it is separable verb. Yeah. And I know the verb is separable. So see how I am using it. So I take the prefix and I place it at the last position, just before the full stop. And I only conjugate the verb lighten. So lighten for ish will be ish lighter. For do, it will be do lightest. RSZ will be lightet. And for ia, it will be lighted. How do I know it? I know it. You have to learn to know it. And so what I'm saying is that I'm not saying ish weiter lighter than Vertrag. if you are say this, people will know what you are saying, but they will also know that your German grammar is not good. So because you know now that Weiterleiten is a separable verb, is a trennbare verb, you have to take the prefix and place it at the last position. Yeah. Let's look at the yes or no kind of question. Again, weiter is still at the last position just before the question mark. Yeah. And everything else remains the same. Leiter ist ein Vertrag. You know, so verb is at the first position. You have verb, then the subject, then the object. Yeah. So it's not that difficult to learn, you know, like, so all you have to do is place the prefix at the last position. Everything else remains the same if you look at it, you know. Wann leiter ich den Vertrag weiter? So w word, verb at the second position, then you have the subject, then you have the object, and the prefix is at the last position. And that's what you need to know when you are using only one verb in a sentence, and that verb is separable. Yeah. Any questions over here? So weiterleiten means to forward. You know, I forward the email. Did I mean, you know, like, am I forwarding the email or do I forward the email? Leite ich den Vertrag weiter? Wann leite ich den Vertrag weiter? You know, when do I forward the email? When am I forwarding the email? If I say we, you know, how do I forward the, not email, sorry, Vertrag, you know, contract. Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay, so now you understand when you use a verb in a sentence and if it is separable, all you have to do is just place the prefix at the last position. Yeah, and the rest part you conjugate it. What happens if you have two verbs and one verb is modal verb and the other verb is separable? It's actually easy. You know, that is the beauty of modal verb. Just have to do nothing. Just, you know, write the verb as it is. So I told you the verb is weiterleiten. Yeah, and if you use a modal verb, you know, here können, for do it becomes can't, and the verb is at the last position, and yeah, just write the verb as it is. I mean, there is no need to separate them. You just write weiterleiten, you know. Du kannst den Vertrag weiterleiten, kann sie den Vertrag weiterleiten, wann könnt ihr den Vertrag weiterleiten? Okay, any questions? So when you use a separable verb, the only thing you have to be careful is when you are using that only one verb in a sentence and that verb is separable, make sure that prefix is at the last position, you know. And if you use a modal verb, it's actually a good life, because then you don't need to, I mean, the moment you use a modal verb, you know, like, you should be happy because you don't even care whether it is separable or not. Just write the verb as it is. Any questions so far? Okay, if no more questions, so we discussed what they are, and then we looked at some examples. How to identify a trennbare verb when you hear it for the first time, you know, like, let's say, you know, I say something, I say a sentence. So let me just go back. Uh, you know, in this sentence, ich leite den Vertrag weiter. You know that, like, you know, like here, I mean, even if you look at the sentence, you know, okay, you know, this is a prefix. It has been taken away from it, from the verb. So this is like the verb is weiterleiten, and weiterleiten is a trennbare verb. You know, here also you can figure it out. You know, normally at the end of the sentence, you have the object, but you don't have the object. You just after the object, you have weiter. So you have, you know, so from here, you can, you know, that, you know, it is a separable verb. But if you look at this sentence, du kannst den Vertrag weiterleiten, kann sie den Vertrag weiterleiten, wann könnt ihr den Vertrag weiterleiten? How will you know? You know, whether the verb is separable or not. You have no idea, right? You don't know, right? For example, if I here unterschreiben, you know, how do you know whether it is separable or not? You know, because you know schreiben means to write, and you are seeing one more verb unterschreiben, you may think it is separable, you know, but it is actually not. It's not separable. So unterschreiben is not a trennbare verb. So you will never write ich schreibe den Vertrag unter. You'll always say ich unterschreibe den Vertrag. But then how do you know when you hear it? So hear it for the first time. You know, when someone uses a modal, uses a trennbare verb in a sentence, and the sentence also has a modal verb, how do you know? You know it because the prefix will get emphasized. Emphasized meaning there will be a very small pause between the like, you know, so uh what do I mean by the prefix gets emphasized? Again, I will exaggerate just for that, so that you understand. If I read this sentence, you know, I will say du kannst den Vertrag weiterleiten. So I will emphasize the weiter part. If I read this sentence, where unterschreiben is not separable, I will say wann könnt ihr den Vertrag unterschreiben. I will not emphasize the unter part because it is not a separable prefix. So if the prefix gets emphasized, that means the verb is separable, is trennbare. Now, should you invest time in this? You can if you want to. If you are my friend, I would say don't do it. But I give all kinds of wrong advice to my friends. Understand that. Yeah. Uh, Here, as I said, so how do you identify when you hear a trennbare verb for the first time? I think I'm doing a lot of here and here, you're right. Yeah. So if the prefix gets emphasized, then it is a trennbare verb. If the prefix does not get emphasized, then it is not a trennbare verb. Okay, that was the theory part. Now, how to not mistake a verb, like by looking at it. If you read a sentence, how do you know whether that verb is separable or not? You will see a prefix. So how do you know that? The way to do that is, so there are some prefixes. Whenever you see them in as a part of a verb, you should say, you can, I mean, you will not be all right all the time, but you can be right with some assurity that it is a separable prefix. And if the prefix is separable, the verb is also trennbare verb. Yeah. So prefixes like ab, an, auf, aus, bei, ein, los, mit, nach, her, hin, vor, weg, zu, zurück. Yeah. So when you see these prefixes in some verb, you can be sure most of the time that the verb is separable. Then whenever you see these prefixes, be, emp, ent, er, ge, mis, fer, ser, these are usually inseparable prefixes. So when you see them prefix, don't think that there is a prefix, it's a separable verb. No, the prefix is not separable. Then you have, of course, outliers, durch, hinter, über, unter. So whenever you see a verb with this prefix, you cannot be sure whether it is separable or not. So don't try to guess. You can guess. I'm saying you may be wrong. Yeah. So now the question is, should you memorize all these prefixes? Answer is of course yes, because when you are learning to, for example, if you stay in Germany for 6 months to 1 year, and if you are constantly, like interacting with other people, at least hearing, you will have some idea, like some intuition or some gut feeling or some experience that which verb is separable and which verb is not separable, because they will be using it like that. But when you are learning for the first time, it is expected, it's nice that you remember these prefixes. And whenever you learn a verb, I have this website where you can, go through vocabulary. When you read a verb, you should try to if you see there is a verb, in that verb at the beginning you have some prefix, you should try, at least you should have this, motivation to figure out whether it is separable or not. And how do you do that? You'll do that only if you remember these things, these prefixes. Of course, I can think of some very good song to tell you how to remember this, but I believe you all are grown up enough to figure that out on your own. So any questions over here? Okay, guys, any questions, please ask. So as I said, these hints are very useful. I mean, I write useful, but they are very useful when you are beginning to learn German. After you pass A2, you can forget them because you will know them just like that. You don't have to. Yeah. Okay. uh that's what I meant, like, how not to mistake a verb with inseparable prefix for a trennbare verb. The idea was, like, whenever you see these prefixes, like, be, emp, ent, er, ge, mis, fer, ser, and one of these, don't think that they are separable. Maybe you may be wrong. Yeah. So uh any questions, guys? Okay, let us talk about, we'll do some exercises with separable verb. Let's talk about few in sentences. Yeah. So few. And how do you pronounce this? There are different ways to pronounce it, but I can give you one thing that will, I mean, so yeah, it's easy to pronounce it. If so, view, right? Like, it's a nice view. Sunset is a nice view. Just replace v with f and say few. Yeah. And that's how you say this part. Yeah. So that's a nice trick. So what does few mean? It means for. Many of you already know it or would have guessed it. What you should know about few is, so this example over here, das Geschenk ist für meine Mutter. So Geschenk means gift, ist, uh, is meine Mutter. I mean, I think it's obvious, my mother. Few means for. So this gift is for my mother, or the gift is for my mother. Again, I said few normally means for, but don't like take this as a very strict rule. There will be chances where few will mean something else, but it's fine for now that you think few means for. Again, what you should know is that we discussed this nominative, accusative, dative, and genitive, all these things, and I told you when something is accusative, I told you some guidelines how you can figure it out. Now I am telling you, whenever you see few in a sentence, and normally after few, after few you will have some kind of a noun or a pronoun that will be in accusative case. So if here I'm saying the gift is few in, and if in is nothing but the accusative form of air means he. So I mean by logic, I mean by some common sense, it means the gift is for him, and if you want to say him, you will have to say in. Yeah. So after few, after few, whatever you have will be accusative form. Don't try to read all this. I mean, you can read, but what I'm trying to say is that after few, you will either have a noun or a pronoun. Whatever it is, it will be in accusative form. So if you are using a pronoun, use the accusative form of the pronoun. If you are using a noun, then you will, and if you are using an article before the noun, if I let's just say the sentence will not make sense, but let's just say, I say the gift is for the contract. The gift is for the contract. you know the contract is their Vertrag, but because Vertrag will be accusative, that means even the article there has to be accusative, and there in accusative is den Vertrag. Needless to say, if let's say if you say the gift is for the man, das Geschenk is few, you cannot say der man because it has to be accusative, and there is den in accusative, so den man. Now in real life, instead of saying das Geschenk is you instead of saying den man, you say der man. People will know what you're trying to say, but of course they will know that your grammar is not good. So again, if I mean, and it's not that difficult to remember. Whenever you use few, remember after few it will be accusative. Any questions so far? So if you have no questions, again, you can, I mean, here I have used for in a sentence, but sometimes, someone asks a question and you just say for blah blah, say like, this for whom is this thing lying over here, and you'll say for him, for her, and so on, like why are you buying an extra ticket for her, or let this, why is there a table on this, who, like for whom is this seat in the restaurant reserved, for him, for her. I'm saying you don't have to use for few in a sentence. You can just say like, fewer blah blah, and whatever that blah blah is will be in accusative cases. Any questions? Okay. So also one more thing, if it confuses you, please ask. So I told you where, right? You have where. uh, 1 second. So you have learned the W word where, right? Where means who. Yeah. Now if I want to say for whom is the gift, so for I will use few. And how do you say whom? So this is also where the grammar, German grammar helps. You know how to say who, right? So who is where, and after few it has to be accusative, so where in accusative becomes wen. Yeah, so few wen is das Geschenk. If instead of saying few wen you say few wer is das Geschenk, people will know what you're saying, but they will know your grammar is not good. So few accusative, few where in accusative, where becomes wen. This is something you have to learn. Where in accusative is wen. Yeah. After some time I will tell you that this is wem in dative. So there is also a dative, yeah, for where. We are not using it right now, but yeah, just so you know. Any questions so far? Please ask any kind of questions. So uh all right, this is just 1 second. Yeah, let us, yeah, so yeah, Elaine, please ask. You can unmute yourself and ask. All right. So these are some sentences over here. Anyone wants to read them? Just for some practice. Okay, if you don't want to read, yeah, Rohan, you can read, or who wanted to read?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You can read.
Ich stehe 8 Uhr auf. Von 9 Uhr bis 13 30 arbeite ich.
Yeah, so
Von
this is phon. Phon.
Okay.
Like, you say phone, but say it like phon. Phon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Von 14 Uhr bis 18 Uhr arbeite ich weiter. 6 und 24 Uhr starte ich das Google-Meeting für den Deutschunterricht. Es endet normalerweise gegen 7 und 13 Uhr.
No, 7:30. Come on, dude.
30 Uhr.
No, 7:30.
7:30 Uhr.
Yeah, we discussed this last session. Please revise if you have forgotten. Yeah.
Mhm. Gegen 11 Uhr gehe ich ins Bett. Gegen 11:30 Uhr schlafe ich ein.
Not 11:30 Uhr, 11:30. So you say the R part, then you say Uhr, then you say the minutes part. So gegen 11:30 schlafe ich ein.
Okay,
Yeah,
understood.
yeah. Or just, I mean, in exam you have to say Uhr, but in real life just say 11:30. I mean, okay, yeah. Say the Uhr part.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, thank you very much, Rowan. If you know, so
Mhm.
I don't know if you read the title of this slide, but I'm just giving you some sentences. Okay, this was true for I think for one of the previous batches where the session was starting at 6:30. But anyhow, so I'm just like what I'm doing. I think I gave you this homework, right? I told you that to start writing about your day. Like make a diary. I told you to write in English, and I told you to see if you can write the same thing in German. The idea is that if you go and join some language institute, they have 12 chapters, and every chapter will have some certain topics. One chapter may have topic, of vegetables. One chapter may have topic as like, to go shopping. One chapter will may have visit to a doctor. One chapter may have visit to a movie theater, stuff like that, right? Now they are deciding how your life looks like. So they are thinking that, you go to doctor every week, and now you have to learn how to talk to a doctor. They are deciding that you have to, like, you are very passionate about vegetables and you need to learn all the vegetable names. So they are, but they don't know that your life is different. So the idea is that there is nothing wrong with them, like they are just, they have to offer it to everybody, right? So they have to come up with the general syllabus, but you are special. So what you should do is, and how do you decide which topics, which vocabulary you have to learn? You can sit down and think of the topics, or what you can do is you can make your diary. So you can divide your day into, like, you sleep for 8 hours, you are awake for 16 hours. For every minute of the waking hour, write a sentence, whatever happens. I wake up, I don't want to wake up, I turn the alarm off, I feel like taking the alarm and throwing out of the window. you know then I walk to go to the washroom, I bathe and go on and so on, right? So you write every single this will take some time, it will not happen in one day, it will take 1 to 2 months. Now that you have written everything, now you know what your lives look, and this also includes, right? You have, if you are working, you will have daily meeting, with someone, like with your boss. What I'm saying, with someone, with your boss. And when this happens, you also write that I have daily meeting from this to this. In the daily meeting I say this, other person says this, right? You write all that, and then you try to say all those things in German. Of course, this is A1, you will not be able to say everything in German, but see whatever you can say. This way you learn the vocabulary relevant to your life. You can also sell it after some time, like vocabulary for your profession, if people want to buy. So, but what I'm saying, here I have given something like, ich stehe um 8 Uhr auf, I wake up at 8. Now you look at the verb, you see, at the end of the sentence you have auf. That means auf is a prefix and the verb is stehen. So the verb actually is aufstehen. This is a separable verb. Yeah. You look at this sentence. Von 9 Uhr bis 13 Uhr 30. Okay, this is a normal sentence. Here, this sentence. Von 14 Uhr bis 18 Uhr 30 arbeite ich weiter. If you look at the end of the sentence, you have weiter. And at the second position, you have arbeite. Arbeite is arbeiten für ich. So the verb actually is weiter arbeiten. I continue working. Yeah. So uh, this is also a separable verb. Yeah. You look at this sentence, uh, the second last, gegen 11 Uhr gehe ich ins Bett. At around 11, I go to bed. But yeah, me being me, I'm doing something, reading or something, whatever I'm doing. Uh, I fall asleep at around half an hour later. Yeah. So if you look at the sentence, you have ein just before the full stop. And at the second position, you have schlafe. Schlafe, schlafen for ich is schlafe. So the verb is einschlafen. Yeah. It's a separable verb. This is how some examples of where separable verbs are useful. Anyone knows the difference between schlafen and einschlafen? Any guesses? What do you think it means? Schlafen versus einschlafen? Come on, no one? No one wants to try as well?
Schlafen is sleep. I'm just guessing, Rohit.
Yeah.
Schlafen is sleep. Einschlafen. Einschlafen is like maybe a nap or something. I'm not sure.
No,
Just
no.
guessing.
At 11:30, I'm not taking nap. Einschlafen means to fall asleep. To fall asleep. Like, that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I'm not sure if you have a question, Good Future. If you don't have a question, if you have a question, you can ask. But yeah. So, we have 15 minutes left. Uh, we can do the email part. Okay, we'll do the exercises part on Modalverben and so on. Before we do that, let us do the email part. Let me just unshare and share again because it's a different slide. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So, many of you maybe are already working and you know how to write emails and so on, but just for the sake of completion, let's cover it. Yeah. Again, these are not like, this is exactly how you have to write emails, but they provide you some guidelines, especially if you're preparing for an exams. You don't want to like make any mistakes, just use the standard formats. So, any email at the end, I don't know which one is greeting and which one is salutation, but so at the end, you greet the person. Yeah, I don't know which one is which, but so normally you write dear blah blah, respected blah blah, and at the end you say many regards, best regards, many thanks, something like that. Yeah. So at the beginning, what here? So again, the email can be formal or it can be informal. Let's talk about, of course, we're focusing on professional German. Again, even if you start working, you don't have to be that formal, but let's say you are writing an email to someone for the first time. You have no idea who is on the other side. You don't even know. Let's say you are writing an email, your something is not working on your laptop and you work for a big company. So you have to create a ticket. You have to create a ticket to the IT department, and you have to, normally you just write like, please get back to me on Teams. But let's say if you want to write proper email, so you will say sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. If you know what Damen means, you should be sad by now, because Dame means lady, Damen will mean ladies. Herr means gentleman, Herren will gentlemen, plural. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. Geehrte means like, so you can think of it as respected, but it means a little bit more than that. Something like respected. So sehr means like, very. Again, if you want to translate very respected and so on, you can think it like that, but literally, I mean, just accept it. If you're writing an email to someone for the first time, you don't know on the other side whether it is one guy, one woman, whatever. Just write this one, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. Yeah. And you write your first name, last name, and you write mit freundlichen Grüßen. Mit means with, freundlichen means friendly or something like that. Grüßen means greetings. Yeah. If you know on the other side it's a woman and you still want to be formal, you will say Frau and you will use her last name. can also say Frau first name, last name, nothing wrong. But normally when you say Frau, you use the last name. Now again, so here you had sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, everything remains the same. Instead of Damen und Herren, you write Frau last name. If the on the other side, you know it's a guy, you will write Herr and last name. But if you notice here, it was Geehrter, here as well Geehrter, here it is, there is an R at the end, Geehrter. Yeah. Again, when you speak, I mean, I told you in the last session that you should never not try to pronounce the R at the end. So this this will also, this is Geehrter and this is also Geehrter. It sounds the same, but just for so that you understand, this is Geehrter. You don't have to say it like that, but I'm saying when you write, there is an R at the end. Why there is an R at the end, it has something to do with adjective ending and so on. Ignore that for now. So just write it Geehrter. Okay. So when it is here, it has to be R. Yeah. This is all formal. And this is very formal, like being very formal. Let's say, you don't want to say sehr geehrter. Just write hello. That's also fine. Hello. Hello. Damen und Herren. Everything else remains the same. Mit freundlichen Grüßen, first name, last name. Yeah. So again, the same. If on the other side it's a woman, you say hallo Frau, last name. Hallo Herr, last name. Again, no difference. Uh, Instead of saying mit freundlichen Grüßen, you can just say viele Grüße. Viele Grüße means many greetings. Yeah. Same thing. Hallo Frau, last name. Viele Grüße. Hallo Herr, last name. Viele Grüße. If it's the IT department, maybe you don't want to show that much respect or you're in a hurry, you just can write hello and move on. Yeah. In exam, don't do it, like try to write everything. So hello and viele, you can also say instead of viele, you can just say liebe Grüße. Okay, don't write both. Just write one of them. Viele or liebe Grüße. Yeah. Same thing. Hello first name. Again, now this one, I have written informal. This is informal. You're writing to a friend or you're writing to you can also write to your boss if you guys are know each other for a long time. You don't have to say hello. You don't Germany after some time, you just use first name of everyone. So hello, whatever their first name is. Yeah. And you can say viele Grüße or liebe Grüße. Yeah. Those who work for company know that people just write VNG. They will just write VG. They will not even write the entire form. They will just write LG, liebe Grüße, short form. Again, you don't have to write first name, your last name. If you're being informal, you can just write your first name and move on. Yeah. This is informal. Okay. Now, I have highlighted this dot dot dot. This means whatever is the whatever, if you have one paragraph, more paragraph, just write. But please understand, you see sehr geehrter here last name and you put a comma. So whatever is the first sentence of the first paragraph, that first sentence of the first paragraph is a part of this sehr geehrter here last name. So the first alphabet of the first word of the first paragraph of an email is usually not capitalized. So when do you capitalize a word? In English, for example, like I is always capital. In German, from what I know or what you should know, at least in A1, there are only three scenarios when you should capitalize the alphabet of a word. Either it is a noun. So if it is a noun, it will be capital. And I should maybe write N. If it is a noun, it's always capital. Doesn't matter where it is in the sentence. If it is this capital Z, like Z formal, it's always capital, right? So if it is not a noun and if it is not this Z, so whatever is the first alphabet of the first word or first paragraph of an email is will not be capitalized. So unless the first word is a noun or this Z formal, then it will be capital, the first alphabet. Otherwise, it will not be capital. Any questions? What I just said? Okay, please ask. Either you're getting everything or I'm confusing the hell out of you guys. Yeah. Okay, any questions? Okay. If no more questions, I think we have, let me just see, 7 minutes left. So, all right, let me see if I can cover some grammar topic before we go there. Okay. Yeah, we can do this part. Yeah. So, now, when you are learning German, most of you guys are busy, so you don't have that much time. So when you learn German, try to see if you can be as quick, when you do homework and all, when so you have, you should try to write sentences, but how you can do it quickly. So, uh, you see this sentence, I can swim. So when you learn to write I can swim, learn how to say want to swim, must swim, I am allowed to swim, should swim. And see if you can say a few more things, study, learn, jog, walk, run, eat, read, sleep, write, speak, commute, drive, drink. Again, you say like, why don't you give us the German words, because it's not a good thing to do. So you write some sentences that are that you think you should know how to say it in German, and you make something like this, like study cards, reading cards, and now you think how to say all these things in German. So is there someone in the call who wants to help us say all these things in German? So what I want is, maybe you can give us the verbs, how to say swim, study, learn, and so on. Anyone wants to try? Yeah, good, future, you can start.
Swim, schwimmen,
Yeah,
study, studiere,
studieren. Yeah,
studieren, learn, lernen, jog, joggen,
no, it's joggen.
walk,
You don't have to say yeah.
joggen.
Yeah,
Yeah, in German it's ja, no?
yeah,
The
but
same?
for joggen it's not.
Okay.
I may be wrong, but I don't hear people say that. Yeah,
Okay. Joggen, walk, mm, I just forgot what is walk.
starts with L.
Spaziere.
No, spazieren
Spaziere.
means no. Spazieren means to walk at a leisurely place. Walk may mean laufen. Yeah,
Okay.
laufen can
But
also
laufen
mean,
is done, na?
yeah, it also means to run. Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, I don't want to fight with anyone like with what laufen means, but you can use it also to say walk,
Okay.
because spazieren means you are walking, but at like, with no aim. Yeah, something like that. Or you can say
Okay, run,
zu Fuß gehen, to go on foot, on feet. Zu Fuß gehen.
zu Fuß gehen.
Yeah.
Okay, zu Fuß gehen. Run, laufen, eat, essen, read,
For run,
lesen,
you can say rennen.
rennen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, sleep, schlafen, write, schreiben, speak, sprechen, commute, fahren.
No, fahren means to drive. Commute means something else. We discussed this. It was part of our vocabulary.
Mm,
So
mm,
commute, I mean, when you travel by train, it's not fahren, right? Because you are commuting. It means pendle. Pendle.
pendeln.
No, pendle. You have pendulum, pendle.
Okay, pendeln. Okay.
Yeah.
Drive, fahren,
Yeah.
drink, trinken.
Yeah. Now try to frame sentences, like, so now you have all the verbs. So because you are using Modalverb, you don't really have to use their conjugation, right? So, you'll write the verbs as it is. So now give me, I can swim.
Ich kann swimmen.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to swim, na? Okay. Ich, ich want to, ich möchte schwimmen.
Yeah. You can
Ich
say
muss schwimmen.
möchte, want to. So, when I say want to, I'm expressing a very strong wish. So I will go with will. Ich will schwimmen, but
Okay,
möchte is also fine. Yeah.
okay. I, uh, I- I'm allowed to swim. Darf ich schwimmen?
No, you are asking now.
Soll
Now
ich?
you are asking a question. This is a statement. Ich darf schwimmen.
Okay. Ich darf schwimmen.
Yeah.
Ich soll schwimmen.
Yeah. So this is what. And can you frame it for wir? Like we can
Wir,
swim.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wir können schwimmen. Wir wollen schwimmen. Wir müssen schwimmen.
So don't try to say. I mean, it's fine if you say wir, but I mean, just again, you can say
Okay, the
what.
R sound.
Yeah, just make it, but don't emphasize it, or just leave it at
Okay.
all. Just say via, like, replace R with a.
Okay. Wir.
Via.
Wir. Wir dürfen schwimmen. Wir sollen schwimmen.
Yeah, say it for ia, like, ia means like you, but
Ihr.
informal
Okay,
and
ihr. Okay.
more than one person.
Ihr könnt schwimmen.
Very good.
Ihr möchte.
Again you are saying ihr. Don't say it.
Okay. Ihr möchte schwimmen.
Möchtet, right?
Möchtet, yeah.
Yeah.
Ihr müsst schwimmen. Ihr dürft schwimmen. Ihr sollt schwimmen.
Yeah. So and what
Solltet or sollt?
I think it's I'm thinking it's salt. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't think of.
Okay.
I don't think I use it that often. Yeah.
Okay.
Those who are preparing for exam, be careful. Yeah. Say it for du, like you, singular, informal, direct.
Okay. Du kannst schwimmen. Du möchtest schwimmen. Du musst schwimmen. Du darfst schwimmen. Du sollst schwimmen.
Yeah, Zolz. Yeah. So,
Sollst,
the call
yeah.
will end. I'll post the link in the group. Please join using that link. Yeah. The call will end in 5 seconds.